Debate, the Honourable Member for Bruce-Grey-Owen Sound.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to start my remarks off a little bit maybe different. I'm going to try to tell a little bit of a story. Picture yourself as my 7-year-old daughter. You live in the United States, southern United States. It's in the 1830s. Life is not good. And you make your way. You utilize what was then known as the Underground Railway. You make your way up. It's not a simple journey where you just, grab a ticket, hop on the train, and off you go. It's done at night. It's done quite frequently by foot. You need to use code words. You need to travel constantly in fear that you may be recaptured and put back into slavery. Eventually, though, you make it to the Canadian border, or Upper Canada, as it was known then, and you cross that border. And you feel that inspiration of hope. You know you're somewhere safer. You don't stop quite yet. You keep on going. You travel to the most northern terminal of the Underground Railway, the village of Sydenham, now known as Owen Sound, which I'm proud to say is in my riding of Bruce-Grey-Owen Sound. The only reason my daughter's having to make that escape is because she happens to be of background she's of color. It's sad, but I'm so glad that Canada has such rich history, and my riding has such rich history in abolishing slavery. That Underground Railway helped free 30,000 to 40,000 slaves during its time of operations. It offered that beacon of hope. It gave people of black descent an opportunity to settle, raise their families, and find work. And again, as I said, Mr. Speaker, it makes me so proud to come from the right. I want to thank the member from Richmond Hill for bringing forth this motion, M36, and continue, actually not what Senator Bernard started, but actually what the Honourable Deepak O'Brien brought forward in this House in 1999, 21 years ago, as a private member's bill C-282. Then it was brought forward a couple years ago by the good senator within the Senate. She tried to get it passed, but unfortunately the bill was not passed before Parliament broke. But fortunately, the member from Richmond Hill has brought it forward, and I do agree with his earlier comments, Mr. Speaker. I'm confident this motion will pass with unanimous consent in the House when we get there. My riding has some unique contributions, but it speaks to the motion as well of what people of black or African descent have made to this great country. In the southernmost part of my riding, I have the town of Priceville. I didn't know until I was actually preparing for this speech that it's named after Colonel Price. Colonel Price happened to be of black descent, something I didn't know. And it just speaks to, again, to the rich contributions black people have made to Canada throughout our history. As well, my own riding, a former MP, we got to go back to 1993 to 2004, was Ovid Jackson. Ovid Jackson made national news at the time because I come from a riding which is not as ethnically diverse as some of our ridings in our more urban centers. But Ovid was elected as a black man. And I think that speaks not only to the constituents of my great riding and how fair and balanced they are, but to what a nice and intelligent and competent individual that Ovid himself was. Fortunately, in my viewpoint, he ran for the wrong party, but we'll deal with that on another day. But what's unique, too, about my riding, and specifically Owen Sound, or the village of Sydenham as it was known then, is the Owen Sound Emancipation Festival. It's the longest ongoing festival in North America. It started in 1862. I say again, Mr. Speaker, 1862, 5 years before Canada was officially a country, the Owen Sound, or village of Sydenham, was recognizing the importance of the abolishment of the British Commonwealth Slavery Abolition Act of 1833, which took effect the 1st of August, 1834. And they started with a picnic back then with the early settlers, and they've been celebrating it nonstop ever since. That act itself freed more than 800,000 slaves across the British colonies. And that festival that kept going, in 2004, there was a commemorative cairn that I challenge any of the members of Parliament, if you're ever up in my riding, come visit it. It's in Harrison Park, right in the downtown part of Owen Sound. And it's a beautiful cairn that allows people of all backgrounds to go and visit, meditate for a while, think about the importance and the contributions that Black people have made to our country, and remember the challenges that they faced in our history. And it recognizes those early settlers to my area, the Millers, the Johnsons, the Scotts, the Greens, and the Courtneys. And their descendants come back. They're not just in the area. They actually come back from all across our great country, but I dare say across the world every year to be part of that annual celebration, which has actually turned into a 3-day event. The unique connection I have to Blaine Courtney, who's a past chair of the Owen Sound Emancipation Festival, he was actually my track and field coach as a young teenager. And, you know, Blaine and I, we got along great. He never stopped pushing me all the time, you know, to be something, to be the best that I could be. And I actually think I owe him and all my coaches a lot of gratitude for making me into the person that I am today. I think they were instrumental in helping me be successful in my military career, and hopefully it'll lead to success here in my political career. Just a couple years ago, or a year and a half ago, I guess now, the 2019 festival, my daughter and I were in attendance, and I was so proud as she was selected by the town crier to be part of the festival. She got to ring the bell. She actually rang the bell with the granddaughters of Senator Bernard, and it was a unique experience. Now, the one thing that I guess maybe I was a little bit envious of, my daughter made the front page of the local paper, the Owen Sound Sun-Times, which is the biggest paper in my riding, and here at the same time I'd just been elected as the Conservative candidate just a couple months prior, and here my daughter's making the front page of the newspaper, and I'm not mentioned at all, but I mean, she maybe has a future in politics if she wants to. This year, of course, was slightly different. 2020 was done virtually, but I dare say it was impressive to see everybody still gather together and be instrumental as part of that festival. A key part as well in our riding is the Grey Roots Museum. That museum is a wealth of knowledge, not only to educate people, which this act or this motion speaks to, the importance of it, and I really think that is the root advantage of bringing this motion forward, is to make sure we never forget and at the same time that we educate it. Mr. Speaker, I've traveled the world in my military career. I've been in countries all over the world, some of the worst parts of the world. But one thing I've always said is I've yet to meet a single person in any other nation around the world at that sort of grassroots level that's any different than the average Canadian. Most people just want to live in peace, have their children grow up healthy, well-fed, and an opportunity to have more. I've served with people of all descents and backgrounds. I mean, one of my best friends, or I wouldn't say best friends, the best friend I made at basic training out in Chilliwack, unfortunately I can't remember his last name, Derek. Him and I were sort of like two peas in the pod. He was from Montreal. We did basic training together in Chilliwack, sort of tried to stay out of trouble. Unfortunately, he didn't make it through basic training, and I haven't seen him since. And then I got to the Royal Military College. I served with, had great to make friends like Scott Morrow and Austin Douglas, Austin that I served with in the Royal Canadian Regiment as well. And then Master Corporal Raymond Farmer, who I'll never forget. I don't know where Raymond is now, but he was sort of like my close protection bodyguard in my first tour in Afghanistan. All these gentlemen, Mr. Speaker, are of people of Black descent. I can't imagine living in any other country in the world other than Canada. We're so fortunate, and I'm so glad that we have played such an instrumental part in helping slaves escape from the United States back in the 1800s. And I'm so glad to see this motion being brought forward by the member of Richmond Hill. It's a way to recognize the contributions the people of African descent have made to this great country. It's a way to educate and recognize what they're still contributing to this day. This is the Canada I want my daughter to grow up and be proud of. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.